In this video, we will look at how to balance equations and do some practice. So there's two different types of numbers that we use in chemical equations. The first are subscripts, which are the numbers that are in chemical formulas, and they say how many atoms or how many ions are in the formula. These are part of the formula and they never change. And then we have the coefficients, which are the numbers that we are going to use to balance equations. And these are not part of the formula. So here we've got a picture, and sort of a picture of what's happening in a reaction. So you've got hydrogen reacting with fluorine, F2, to make HF. And so you've got hydrogen, H2, like a dumbbell, reacting with F2, and it makes HF, but to balance the equation, we need to write 2 molecules of HF so that we have the same number of atoms on both sides, and then as we do that, we put a 2 in front of the HF here. It is not part of the formula. It just says that there are 2 HF molecules. The reason that we have to balance is because of the law of conservation of mass, says matter cannot be created or destroyed. So the same number of atoms have to be on both sides of the equation. So useful hints and steps for balancing equations. They're not all rules, but they will help you make it easier to balance equations. So this one is a rule. You've got to balance the atoms, add coefficients, do not change the formulas, and later on when we write our own formulas, this will be tempting to do, so make sure that you don't. Start with the most complex formula and end with the simplest. The simplest ones are the elements that are all by themselves. And this is a really useful one. Count the polyatomics as a group. So for example, in iron 4 sulfate, it has 2 sulfate groups. So we're going to count 2 SO4 groups instead of counting 2 sulfurs and 8 oxygens. And we can do that if the polyatomic sticks together. If it gets separated in the reaction, then you have to count everything separately. For combustion reactions, the best way to do it is start with carbon and then do hydrogen and save oxygen for last. When you're done, check the atom count, and then if you need to, reduce to the simplest ratio, just in case you have all all even numbers or something like that, then you have to reduce. That happens sometimes. Okay, so here's an example. So we've got hydrogen plus oxygen reacting to make water, but this here is not balanced. You cannot balance it by splitting up the O. You cannot balance it by taking the product and just adding more, changing the formula of the product. We have to balance it by adding coefficients. 2 hydrogen molecules react with 1 oxygen molecule to make 2 water molecules here. So what you need to do here is stop the video and go through and figure out how to balance these equations. I did not put the ones in here. If there's no number, then it's a 1. If you want to put a 1 in, that is okay, but I didn't do it here. And then turn it back on and check and see how you did. If you get stuck on any, leave them and go back and try to finish them later. A couple of them are already balanced and don't need any numbers at all. So for those, don't put any numbers down. Again, you can put the 1s, but I did not do that here. Okay, that's 1 through 8. And then continuing 9 through 17, and then the last group 18 through 25.